Welcome to another marriage chat with Nate and Brittney. He's giggly.
No
Um,
kids.
yes, we are coming to you from our anniversary weekend. Actually, we are celebrating 11 years of being married, and we did a little weekend getaway, no kids. So
Whew,
we got some extra
man,
energy. We are
some
feeling a little
sleep,
sleep.
no responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
stress free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have peace. We have peace.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
So we just wanted to come today to just share a little bit about our love story, how we met, how we got to kind of where we are today, and
Uh-huh.
we hope to leave you all with a couple of top marriage tips that we have that we've learned throughout our 11 years of marriage. So, how we met.
Uh, Kennywood. Both at Kennywood.
That's an amusement park here in Pittsburgh for anyone who may not be from
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Me and my best friend were walking through. I get in line for this ride. I see this girl I know. I'm like, that's Brittney Lay. She went to Perry. And he's like, oh, yeah, it was our friend. I was like, I don't know. So we go, get in line. We cross paths. Brittany's looking at me like he looks familiar, but I'm not quite sure if I know him. And I know she doesn't know me because she's an upperclassman at the time or whatever. But so we cross paths. Me and my buddy, we get out of line and wait for them to get off the ride. And they follow us around the park for the rest of the day. Um, It's a funny story. My friend and her friend actually went on a date, and Brittany and I were tag-alongs. We weren't really like that yet. Wasn't pursuing her. She was just there. So, and somehow she stole my number, and we ended up dating. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, so we, like Nate mentioned, we went to high school together, but I'm a year older than him. So when in 2005 is when we went to Kennywood. I went with my best friend, and I saw him in line, and I recognized him from high school. I didn't know his name, but I was like, oh, he went to Perry with me. I knew he was, younger than me. So yeah, after we got off the ride line, they were waiting for us. Him and his friend were waiting for me and my friend, and we rode together for the rest of. We rode the rides for the rest of the day, and then yeah, we were like after that, my friend and his friend were on a date, and we were just tag alongs, and then I don't know really what happened after that. Like somehow we reconnected a couple times, and throughout the summer because I was in college, I had two. I want to say I had 2 more years left of college, so I was going back to my junior year. So we kind of reconnected throughout the year. We kind of stayed in touch while I was at school.
Yeah, something like that.
And then we ended up officially dating like a year later. I think we made it official.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we started dating officially in like 2006, and through my senior year of college, I was away in Philadelphia for college. So long distance relationship, but we made that work, kind of going back and forth a little bit from Pittsburgh to Philly. And then we dated from, I'm trying to remember when we got engaged. It was, so we got engaged December of 2010. So we dated from June of 2006 to December of
I
2010.
don't think anyone cares.
Okay, well, if you talk about what they would care about then.
I mean, like, I don't think the
Okay,
dates.
well, go ahead and give them some information then.
But it's been a journey, to say the least.
Mhm.
Right? It's been a long time. Learned a lot. Learned a lot about myself. Learned what it means to sacrifice and to be something for somebody else, even if you get nothing from it. So It's tough, man. You know, love ain't the fairy tale you see on TV. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of hard lessons. And end of the day, you gotta ask yourself if the person you're with is worth fighting for, fighting with. And it's been yes for 11 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree. Um I think that again, a lot of times society, what we see on TV, what we see of other people's relationships, because we don't really see the behind the scenes of their relationships. We just see what they show us. A lot of times we just think that marriage is going to be, um, so amazing all the time. And not really realizing that marriage is like every other part of your life, like nothing else in life is amazing all the time. So I think we just have to come in with the thought that like marriage is going to be the same thing. Like if there's something you want, you got to work for it. You got to put in the work. There are going to be good times. There's going to be bad times. And just because there may be bad times doesn't mean you have to give up on it. That doesn't mean it's, not necessarily for you. It may just mean you have to pivot in how you do it. And I think that, one of the biggest things I think that I've learned is just to like wait, I guess. Wait it out, again, like I said, just because there may be um, difficult times or a hard period, that doesn't mean that, oh, like I'm not supposed to be here. Um, I think that that just means that there are lessons to be learned through that period. There are different ways that each of us have kind of grown through a lot of our difficult times and how we think about each other, how we communicate with each other, and really just like learning how to accept the person for who they are and not try to change them. Learning how to communicate exactly what you want. I think that, we talk a lot about communication, but I'll say that men and women think differently, right? Completely differently. And there will be things, and I'm sure this is for Nate also, right? But there will be things where I'm like, it was completely obvious that I didn't want you to do that. Or it was completely obvious that I did want you to do this thing, right? But no, it was not completely obvious to him. It was completely obvious to me, and then I'm walking around angry about like, why didn't he do this? Like, or can he see I need help? Like, um, and so really understanding that sometimes you have to just overly communicate certain things. Like, if this is what you want, and I'll give you an example, like for Mother's Day that just passed, I told Nate exactly what I wanted for Mother's Day. Okay. This is how I
Thank
want to
you.
spend my Mother's
Thank
Day.
you.
Okay. Step by step. So that way, at the end of Mother's Day, I wasn't upset because
Right.
because I didn't get what I wanted or I didn't get what I expected or what was completely should have been obvious to him. Right. So I think that's the thing. Like, one is that just because you may be having some hard times and times may be a couple of days in your marriage, a couple of weeks, months, years, like it could be a couple of hard years, right? That doesn't mean that's not where you're supposed to be. Sometimes that just means that there's still growth that needs to be done for you all and for us to like see the better side of things, right? And so unless it's like a abusive relationship, like mentally, emotionally, physically, you know, if it's not those type of things going on, then I feel like it's like, okay, let's just put in the time really here to do the work to be better and really just over communicate. Like, don't assume the other person knows what you're thinking. Like, the more communication, the more the other person has insight into what you're thinking, the better situations will go. So I feel like those are like my top two tips of being married for 11 years.
Mm. Those are great tips.
Oh, thanks.
Um, my tips. This one's kind of like a two-part. You know, be as honest as possible with each other about who you are, about how you feel, about what you're thinking. In the end, I feel like that's gonna help you. It's gonna lead to some tough conversations, but those are the ones that you need to have the most. Um, After you go through, marriage goes through different phases. After you're over the "I'm trying to change you" phase, and you start accepting that person for who they are. Um, knowing exactly who that person is truly, goes a long way in that. And also, don't take everything personal. You know, we're not perfect. So there are things that you do that aren't right, or that somebody else doesn't like, or needs to be corrected. A lot of times when we're trying to talk or we're communicating, we hear things about ourselves and we get defensive, and it leads to an argument or a back and forth or something that's not productive, and nothing gets addressed, nothing gets worked on. Both people walk away incomplete, and it just leads to miscommunication. For men, for most men, like, we won't communicate at all. Then it's like, if that's how it's gonna be, then I'm not gonna say anything. Then she's like, why won't you talk to me? Why won't you open up to me? Spirals out of control. Those are my two biggest things, I would say. And I don't know, be intentional about dating each other and keeping things fresh. I struggle with this myself. I got to do a better job at initiating and planning and doing stuff like that. But it definitely helps. You need a break, especially if you got the kids at home. Got to get away. Got to free your mind. You got to just be the two people that met and fell in love, and reconnect. I would say checking in with each other emotionally goes a long way too, periodically. Just keeping everything open, and remind yourself that you're on the same team.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely on the same team. Sometimes we might feel like it's me against you. Even if you don't realize you're doing it, sometimes your actions may do that. So just like resetting, like, am I operating as a teammate or as an opponent? I think that's a good check in for each individual to do, and then also within the marriage. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think those were some great tips. I hope these tips helped you all. Again, we are not marriage experts. We have no type of certification in anything. Our marriage is not perfect, but we really just felt led to kind of share a little bit more of our marriage and the things that we've learned along the years, in hopes that it will help somebody else. And also, just sometimes we talk about things and things come up in our conversations in this where we're like, oh, I didn't know you felt that way. So it also helps us too. So it's twofold. So yeah, thank y'all for listening, and we are going to get back to our little weekend getaway. All right, see y'all.